stopped at a construction zone, so perfect time to make a video. For Random Thought Thursdays today, I thought I would share with you guys a little bit about what futurities and derbies are, because that's something that I get asked about a lot. And I would also like to clarify, like, I'm not an expert on this. I don't even have a futurity horse. I have a derby horse for the first time in my life, but this is something that I've started to pay attention to. I learned a lot about while riding with Ryan Padone because she is a futurity trainer. So I just want to share a little bit with you guys that are maybe not super clear on what they are. Okay, so futurities and derbies, what are they? These are like the young kid sport. And when I say the young kid, I mean the horse. So futurity horses are age 4 or 5. And in Canada, we usually run our horses at 5. In the US, a lot of futurity horses run at age 4. So depending on what age they run at, they get 1 year as a futurity horse, and then the 2 years following that as a derby horse. Okay, I'm back to being a school teacher. So futurity horses, age 4 or 5. And then derby is 2 years after that. So a derby horse, depending on when they ran as a futurity horse, can be anywhere from 5 to 7 years old. So to give you an example, my horse Jada is 6 now, and she never actually ran as a futurity horse. So she automatically can be a derby horse at 6 or 7. So if she would have ran as a 5-year-old, then same thing. I can now run her in her 6-year-old year this current year, and I'll be able to run her next year as a derby horse as well. Okay, so what's so special about a futurity and derby? Like, okay, I get the age thing, but the difference is, and why a lot of people want to have a futurity or derby horse, particularly a futurity horse, is there's a lot of money to be made in the futurities. You need to do well, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of money added and a lot of big races with high entry fees and a big payout. So in Canada, we're starting to catch up. There's a lot of really good futurities and derbies popping up. It's really cool to see happening in our country, but in the US, they've been at it for a long time. So, you know, being in Texas and Arizona for the winter, I was around a lot of big futurities, and there's a lot of money to be made. Again, you have to do well. It's really competitive, but if you've got that horse and you put work in, it's definitely worth it. All right, well, a question I get asked quite frequently is, why do Canadians run horses at 5, where in the States horses get ran at 4 a lot as futurity horses? So there's a couple things, and these might just be theories, I don't know, but the biggest thing I always think of is that if you live in Texas or California or somewhere in the southern states, babies are often born there in January, February, whereas if you live in Canada, especially depending where in Canada you live, our foals are often not born until later in the year. So like May, June is kind of more common. So that might not sound like a huge age gap, but that, you know, 4 or 5 months, 6 months sometimes age difference is enough that in a young horse, that's a lot of time. So often you'll find that in Canada, horses will get held back until they're 5 to run as a futurity horse. Another sort of theory I have about why we run horses at 5 instead of 4 is the fact that Canada has an off season. If you're lucky enough to live somewhere in the southern states, that's often not the case. So if you live somewhere like Texas, for example, there isn't that kind of downtime in the winter where everything shuts down. Places like Alberta in Canada are pretty well set up because they have better like indoor arenas and winter series and that kind of thing. BC, not so much, but even still, I mean, it's just, we're just not on our horses as consistently in our off season. So I think that makes a big difference too. So someone, you know, might need that extra year in somewhere like Canada because we don't have that consistency of being on our horses all year round. So I do think that that takes a, you know, kind of is a factor as well. All right, you guys, so that gives you kind of a bit of a rundown. What are futurities and derbies? Again, I've never even had a futurity horse. This is my first time having a derby horse. So this is all new to me, but I thought, you know, this is information that I had to ask a lot of questions, and, you know, it still is like a learning curve. So I thought I'm gonna share that with people because I know there's people out there that wanna know what this is, or, you know, are a little bit scared to ask the question. So hopefully that helps clear things up for you guys a little bit.